This is Alliance War Season 61. A new season begins with new tactics and new rivals. Champions will rise. The battleground evolves with every step. Who will adapt? Who will survive? Every battle counts. Every win matters. This is Alliance War. And welcome back, champions. It is War number 6, and no, do not adjust your YouTube. You're going to see these fights are a little bit faster than normal because, well, the first two fights, they're just pretty boring. We're going to be using Ironheart on both of them, and, well, this America Chavez. Really, the only little thing that I do in this whole fight that is incorrect is coming up here in just a second. You'll see I pushed her to a special 2, but I also haven't let her throw any heavies, so that special 2 is really not much to worry about. It did do a little bit of chip damage, but you can see this is kind of a typical Ironheart fight on this node, and yeah, you know, it's just much better in higher speed, and I'm gonna let it play because, well, this is Red Skull, and this is really, really boring. Even sped up, I think it's pretty boring. You know, you're going to see here, I go into the fight at 89%, and my thinking coming in is, well, you know, if I don't finish the fight at 100% health, I'm going to be upset. Yes, I know, I kind of cheated there at the beginning. I threw on a regen boost, but it was getting ready to expire that day. Now I'm just going to do willpower healing. You know, you can see there, you know, any little chip damage I take from having to bait out heavies is getting healed right back up. So, you know, you can see here just basically medium, light, medium combos, throwing special ones, letting the incinerates do the work because, you know, Ironheart's not the greatest counter to Red Skull, but she's a very good champion, and I like using her in a variety of different fights. I knew going into this one it was going to be slow, and yeah, you know, kind of led up to its, you know, lived up to its billing there, and well, you know, slowly Red Skull is wearing down. I'm not able to get a whole lot of incinerates on there, but you know, the ones that are on there doing a little bit of damage, just enough to take the edge off, and we are almost through this fight. One more little combo, and we can finish off Red Skull, and there we go, first 2 fights down. And now we get to slow things back down because, well, these 2 fights are at least a little bit interesting. This fight here, this Dust, I don't mind Dust too much on this node. I am going to be using Bastion, primarily because Dust is a tactic defender, Bastion's a tactic attacker. As long as I'm knocking her down, I will be able to counter the unstoppable that she'll get, and that's kind of my plan. You know, this tactic I'm not a big fan of. But as long as I remember, hey, just knock her down, you know, keep up your charges, keep it so that when she does go unstoppable, you're able just to kind of hit right through it. And that's kind of the entire plan in this fight. You'll see it is a lot of parry heavy. I will throw specials when I get them, but that is my entire focus because I have a tendency to screw up these fights when I stop doing that. And you'll see a little bit of that later on. So here, you know, we do a combo, but the plan there was right after that combo, I'm going to be knocking her down again, so I'll be able to keep, you know, the endurance charge going so that I've got the ability to counter her unstoppable, and that's the entire plan. The other thought process in this fight is, hey, I really don't want her to get a sandstorm. I don't want to take the extra chip damage, so we're being a little cautious there, not hitting into her block. And you can see, because I didn't, you know, knock her down, she got the unstoppable right there. You know, that is the whole problem with this node, is once you kind of mess up just a little bit and you get off sequence and you stop knocking them down, it feels like that unstoppable comes back almost every single time. So, you know, I think for kind of the rest of the season, you know, it is going to be just a matter of parry heavy when it comes to tactic fights. It's boring, it's slow, but you know, it's safe. You know, building up those endurance charges, keeping that on there, only really good way to do it. And there we go. Dust is down, a little bit slow, but still an interesting fight nonetheless. And now for a fight that we could probably speed up if it wasn't so fast already, and it's a fight that you've seen me take before, which is this Wiccan versus Knull. And there's really only one hard part to this fight, and it comes right here at the start, and that's trying to get that initial shield up so that you can, block the unblockable. There, it was pretty close. I did manage to sneak it in right before he hit me, but he was a little bit more aggressive there at the beginning than I like. We were able to get it in there and get the shield up, and now we can block his unblockable, and now it is just a matter of kind of doing in this fight whatever I really feel like doing. I'm going to bait, his heavy. I'm going to do 4-hit combos and back away. Well, at least we thought we would. That's all right. I'm not worried about it. Wiccan is immune to the armor break. He's immune to reverse controls. As long as I've got that shield up, I'm okay in this fight. And you can see the incinerator just ticking him down. And well, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't clean. It was 40 some seconds, and that big old nasty Knull is down, and we move on. And the first mini of the war is going to be this Nick Fury. You saw me take it last war with Jean Grey, and well, now I'm back in my comfort zone. Let's use Ironheart for this fight, and you know the plan here. It's going to be medium like medium and special ones. We're going to, keep enough incinerates and enough other debuffs on there to keep the regen a little bit under control. You can see there's some sneaking through there. It's not the end of the world if some of it does, because the red numbers are definitely, outpowering the green. And now we just wait for the root. He gets rooted. We can push him over special 2. Kind of my best, and favorite way of fighting Nick Fury is when you don't really have to worry too much about him throwing a special 1. That root on this node really, really helps this fight out. And here you go. Typically, like I said, I throw special 1s. Here we decided, we're getting him close to second life. Let's go ahead and throw a special 2, see if we can push him there. And there we go. The special 2 left it at 1%. Surprise with me, it leaving at 1%. Here, we do get rooted. We were able to dex everything cleanly. We throw our special 1. Now we're kind of at that spot that I hate against Nick Fury. Your 19 charges. He is unblockable, and well, you got to get a little hit in there. And sometimes, well, you know me with intercepts. I'm going to mess one up. Got a clean one there. And now we're back in the comfort zone. He is rooted. I can go ahead and do a little combo into a special 1. Didn't need the special 1 right there, but I'm wanting to be safe. I've got another couple fights with Ironheart here, so whole plan was to try and finish this as close to a full yellow bar as possible, and well, I think we did a pretty good job with it. Now, when I planned my warpath, I had planned on taking that Dazzler there that you saw someone else taking. So I got to this island, and I was like, well, you know what? I've got Bastion. There's a Bullseye there. Oh, let's try it. I've not tried this fight before. We got a nice little intercept there. We did a medium like medium. I'm just trying to get him to throw a heavy so I can do a heavy counter. And there we go. So now we have the pursuit up. I can do full combos. I can do whatever I kind of want here against this Bullseye, and the plan is just to kind of heavy counter his heavy as much as possible. I take some chip damage, and I knew I was going to, but I really need him to throw heavies, and he's not really wanting to do it too much. As long as I'm just kind of baiting out his heavy, as long as we're dexing the special, and we kind of missed part of it there. You can see the chip damage is not insignificant, but I do mitigate it some by getting the heals because of the instant bleeds, and Bastion, whenever he gets a bleed, does get a heal. So, it's a fairly safe fight. There we get a nice little special 1, and we're just going to kind of rinse and repeat now. We're just going to heavy counter. Once again, kind of a little bit of a boring fight, but it's Bullseye, and the chip damage does add up. Just don't have to worry about the global here. Here we're going to do 2 hits into a special 1. Decent little red numbers there. Not as big as they could be. Ideally you want a special 2, special 1, but I honestly didn't think the fight would last as long as it has. I figured I would have been out of this already, so I didn't do a second special 2. Here, we just kind of take it in a block. At this point, it's like, okay, we're gonna have to heal up anyway. Let's just be safe. Let's not mess up anything at this point. We're getting too close to the end, and that end is here. So, you know, decent considering I didn't plan on taking this fight. We'll toss a couple heals in for the next fight. And here we are at that next fight. You can see here now we're going to go ahead and toss those heals on Bastion. You know, every once in a while we do have to use some items and more. I don't like doing it. I try to minimize it as much as possible. But all things considered, considering we've gone, you know, the path, 2 minis, only using a couple heals here to tap up before, you know, this boss island run. You know, I'll take it. You know, it's not the end of the world. I am going to throw on an invuln boost here, just because I have screwed this fight up before, and, well, Bastion is not immune to reverse controls. This was before I pulled Maker. In the future, this would be a Maker fight. But, you know, here, I kind of screw up almost early on. What did I say earlier about, hey, you know, let's just do parry heavy? That's why the invuln boost is on there, by the way. There's the reverse controls coming into play. And now we knock her down. We do decent damage there. You know, that was part of the plan, but, you know, really, ideally, I'm just doing parry heavy. You know, that's a huge, 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 huge special 1. I'm feeling pretty good at this point, other than the fact that my health is very low. And, well, what do you know? Reverse controls comes in. I kind of walk right into the special 2, and, well, all those heals I put in, kind of pointless at this point, and we have to do it all over again. Here, you know, I was a little frustrated. I decided, you know what, I'm not going to throw any more heals on. You know, this fight is stupid. I screwed it up. I should have won that fight very easily. I'm just going in kind of 40% helping it. You know, there I did notice the special come up, but I didn't notice the unblockable, and, well, we got smacked in the face. Now we're in a little bit of trouble. Now we're like, okay, let's get her knocked down. Let's get an endurance passive on there. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here. We're just going to block that and make sure we know which way we're supposed to be moving. Now we can throw a special 1, finish that fight with a whopping 3% health. You know, we got through it with losing 1 attack bonus because, well, you know, reverse controls is greater than me. And now for, you know, in my opinion, the fight Ironheart was really made for. That's this node right here with the Stunning Reflect that's got the Incinerate on there. So, you know, all we have to do is get an Incinerate on there. So all we have to do is Dex at the beginning, and now we can parry. Well, we could parry if it wasn't Zola. Now we have to get 5 debuffs on there. Now we can parry. And there I try to parry, but you know what? Every once in a while, you kind of screw up and you realize, hey, the Stunning Reflect wasn't down when you went in to do that. Not the end of the world. You can see he doesn't hit all that hard. Now we're okay. Now we're kind of paying more attention to the Incinerate. Now you can see there we do 1 hit back away. They're bad, you know, timing there. I kind of, you know, did the medium heavy. I got lucky and got away with it. I had been playing too much arena before then and too much event quest, and you can medium heavy there very easily. So got to stop that. You know, here I kind of decided, you know what, let's just go to a special 3. We're going to reset the fight. The nice thing about Ironheart special 3 is it does a power drain, so I can kind of reset the entire fight. He was getting close to 2 bars there. The brute force timer was ticking. It was just, I just wanted to reset it. I didn't feel good there. That my medium ended up being registered as a light. You know, sometimes in fights, it's just not the prettiest thing in the world. You know, this is not a very, very pretty takedown of Zola by any stretch of the imagination. Here, you know, we do pay attention to the sleep timer. We get a little lucky. We pushed him a little far with the striker. He didn't put us to sleep, so it's okay, but not what you want to do ideally. Here, we're going to throw a special 1, and you're going to see he's going to get the 20 again. Now, I need to get a parry in. I've got to pay attention to the Incinerate timer, which I do a great job of there. And thankfully the dex lets me do it, and then of course I get hit by a heavy attack. And then of course he puts me to sleep. You know, so here at the end of the fight, once again, got really ugly, but we got through it. And another war where I kind of got a little sloppy near the end, but overall, not too bad. I don't mind that death to Jean Grey there on Boss Island. That's a tough fight. Should have cleared it clean, but I'll take it. You know, that brings me to 52 kills and 5 deaths through 6 wars. Taking a lot of fights, you know, wish the death count was a little bit lower, but it is what it is. And I do want to thank you all very much for watching this. If you did like this video, please hit the like, please subscribe, and feel free to leave me a comment down below. Until the next one, take care all.